and welcome to the CCN On Point with Youth in the Hood and why there is so much violence in the hood and what we can do about that. How can we deter violence? And I was talking to Sandra earlier about a group that I'm working with now, North Lawndale Community News. They have like 45 students, and they bring half of the students in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and they bring the other half of the students in on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And so my team and I are going to work with these groups. We're going to do one day with each group, and it's 5 hours, and we're going to teach them or work with them, train with them to learn the TRIPS program. So I was telling the young lady about my feet. I was talking to Brian, and she overheard the conversation and gave us that information on what we could do to relieve some pain. So I'm really appreciative of that. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show, Karen. Welcome to the show, Anthony. Welcome to the show, Sandra. And welcome to the show, Yessie. We have Miss Linda. Welcome to the show as well. And this evening, we're talking about youth in the hood, folks. I know you all have some young people that you deal with. And have you had any conversations with them about what's going on in the hood and what kind of experiences they may be having and what they would like to see happen differently? That's the question I put to those youth yesterday, and I'm telling you, I got some answers that were quite astounding. I'm gonna go the opposite direction. I was like, well, that's a good thing. At least you won't be running towards the ruckus. You'll be going in the opposite direction. Sandra, you had a comment. Hand is up. Go ahead.
Hi.
Sandra?
Good evening, everyone. Well, I think one thing you need to clarify is the hood, because not everybody is from, or as you want to call it, the hood. There are some of us that go to the hood to get some stuff because we know that's where we can go and purchase certain things. But the phrase "the hood," I mean, that's kind of almost. I mean, they have pockets of places where there's a lot of things going on, and there's crime. There's crime everywhere in the city of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of think that when you say that and talk about the violence, and a lot of the violence that normally where we see high schoolers participating in, or those that are in the upper grades of elementary, they're being directed by someone in their 40s.
You think so?
I not think so. I know so. In the 40s and 50s. So though there is someone leading and telling these kids what to do and where to strike at. It isn't like, oh, they're sitting up here and they're watching these folks. No, they're telling them. It's more like organized crime.
You think they're being recruited, Sandra?
Of course, they're always recruitment. They do better recruitment than the jobs do. Yeah, and it's not hard to recruit. It's not hard to recruit kids who are not getting the attention that they need from their parents.
Okay.
And some kids, again, you have a lot of high schoolers and elementary kids who, again, whether the parents are single family or not, you can't just say, oh, it's a single family, single parent home. No, it's not. It is happening where both parents are in the home.
So,
but again,
I wonder why. I mean, they can't talk to their parents, or they put their parents on a pedestal, and so they don't feel like they can share.
Nobody can talk to anybody. Communication is piss poor in the U.S. and has been for the last 30 years. I mean, we got Congress that can't talk to each other.
Yeah,
I mean that isn't. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They're blaming things on younger people when, again, clearly in the various age groups, you see it's not happening there either.
Okay.
I mean, people can't communicate, they can't articulate, right? I mean, if you're even trying to handle your business it takes you a certain amount of time just to get the person to understand what it is you're requesting, if they want to hear it, because 9 times out of 10, they don't want to be bothered. So if they're doing that at their place of employment, what do you think they're doing at home with their kids? And people have
Yes.
been pushing their kids off no matter what their age. I've heard several people who still have children in high school refer to their children as being adults. Initially, when they're talking, they say, "Oh, my kids are grown," and I'm looking at the person like, "Oh, wow, you don't look that old." And then you start asking a question, you go, "Oh, well, one is 16, 15, and I got a 17-year-old." That's not grown.
Right, right, right. But
That's not grown.
if the parent is referring to them as an adult, then they're
Correct.
probably treating them as
Correct.
adults.
To include with the attention, to include even when it comes to explaining, or even to the point where you need to be exercising some kind of discipline. But again, they're not there. They're out in the streets partying and doing whatever. They're acting like they don't have teenagers at home.
Well, they're probably young parents.
Oh no, all of them are happening. It's happening with the grandparents too, and it's even worse when the grandparents have stepped in and try to raise the kids because they have no patience. And one of the things I did tell a person in another state, because her children are such a disaster, walking disaster, and they're in their late 30s and early 40s, and she has custody of somebody's kid. I don't even know if they're her children's. I'm not going to say they're her grandchildren, but she has custody of someone's 13-year-old. And my question to her was, you failed with yours, so why would you mess up somebody else's kid?
Oh, Sandra, that's not nice. But
No, that's the truth. The truth hurts. And again, if you fail with yours, why do you keep messing with kids? Leave the kids alone. What's the point? And she has no patience, and she's not prepared. She didn't learn anything from the mistakes that she made with her kids.
Oh, well, thank you for that comment. Let's see what the tax doctor has to say. He's got his hand up. What is your comment, tax doctor?
Well, I think what had happened, somebody made a comment about me today that when I was growing up, I didn't give my mother a lot of grief. Like my brother gave my mother some grief, but thank God he grew out of it.
Okay.
And I myself, as I was growing up, I didn't do a lot of crazy stuff. Okay. I didn't steal. I didn't stick up people, didn't break in people's houses. Okay. But you come to find out, young people need discipline and young people need a controlled environment. And when you sit back and watch before our eyes a group of young people downtown Chicago breaking into a Foot Locker, going in there, taking clothes, taking shoes, and you wonder, why in the hell are y'all doing this?
And so, yeah, why do you think they're doing that?
It can be a multitude of reasons because, first of all, some of these black kids say like they ain't got nothing and never had nothing. And in most cases, that's not even true.
Right. I'm sure that their parents worked very hard to try to get them what they didn't get. I know I did.
A lot of parents, especially young parents, and I remember I was on the bus, and this woman was so proud that she went and spent a ton of bricks putting Nike shoes on her baby's feet. She was so proud. Okay.
Proud.
And she's not by herself. Okay. Yeah. A lot of parents put nice gym shoes on their kids' feet so the kid can fit in and be part of a peer group, okay, that have something decent. And that's the value structure. And some of these kids, if they feel like they don't have nothing, not gonna have anything, they don't mind busting you upside your head taking your car, taking granny's purse.
But
And you're talking about 11 years old.
yeah,
11
see,
year olds now carjacking people.
11-year-old, and I wonder where's that 11-year-old's mom? Where's
That's
that
a good
11-year
question.
old's daddy? Where's that
Okay,
11-year-old's brother?
well, chances are what happens is that 11-year-old's daddy is he probably passed on either directly or indirectly that type of legacy to his child.
Okay.
Because the daddy is probably in and out of jail, going from house to house, trying to avoid the law or lay up with as many impressionable girls as he can find.
Okay.
Okay, the mama is probably still out there twerking. You know,
so we talking about young parents, right? We're talking about young parents.
Young parents, or or yeah, so
What's the
or
age
even
range you're talking about?
the age range could be anywhere. The oldest I'd probably say is maybe 30, if that old, if that.
So grandma, how old is grandma?
Grandma's probably 45 to 50.
So these are young parents, young grandparents trying to figure out which way is up. They started early in life with children, and they were still learning how to be who they are. What say you? Thank you for that comment, Brian. Did you have anything else you wanted to say regarding that?
Yeah, and again, it's kind of like a vicious cycle. It gets passed down from the parents to the kids to their kids, and the thing of it is, it's getting worse. That's just like what I went through early last summer, when I got carjacked.
How
Okay,
old were the people that carjacked you?
I say the oldest is probably 20 at the oldest.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Weren't you at a Walgreens?
right. I was at a Walgreens on 147th and Cicero.
I mean, and the Walgreens lot is really well lit.
I know, but again, nobody was around to help prevent the incident. So, but I did eventually get the car back. But it's just the point that I'm kind of stuck with that memory, and the thing of it is that uh, and Marcus kind of touched on something. The kids that's out here doing this stuff probably don't even know how to read or write.
I'm sure. Yeah.
You know, they're not well educated. I mean, but when it comes down to doing something, carjacking somebody, or that stupid video game, Grand Theft Auto, or
So it does it seem like they have no fear? I mean, it seems to me like,
right.
So for some young people to walk up on you, you're not a small man. And for somebody to walk up on you and jack your car, did they have a gun?
Yeah, at gunpoint. All three of them had guns.
All three of
them? All three of them had guns.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
But they know how to draw on somebody, draw a square up and draw on somebody, draw firearms, that is. They know how to stick up people. They know everything about that stupid video game, once again, Grand Theft Auto. The girls out here know how to twerk, twerk their booty, but they don't know anything constructive. Like, they're not well educated. They don't seem to have any type of goals or ambitions, or really a desire to do anything positive, but anything, whether it come down to twerking or backing that thing up or ripping somebody off or stupid video games and iPhones and link cards and fast food, they all over it.
So what is your recommendation for what can we do to deter that kind of behavior?
To deter that kind of behavior, we need programs like the after school programs, the Boys and Girls Club. We don't seem to have that in our neighborhoods. I would like to see more. Maybe churches may need to get involved and help create programs in the neighborhood for today's youth. Uh, I mean, yeah, you get a program here and there, but then after a while, it seems to maybe fizzle out because of a lack of interest or whatever. You know, we need programs, and a lot of today's youth, you got to get them when they're young to be able to really make a difference with them.
Thank you for that comment. Yesy, you had something you wanted to say?
Well, again, what I hear your callers call in and speak about is the symptom and not the problem nor the solution.
Okay.
In order to know what's going on today, you have to go back to when did it start? We haven't had children and teenagers since the early 50s or maybe mid 50s. When you look at the institutions, you get things done through institution, your religious institution, your government institution, your business institution, your health institution, your home institution, and your school institution. The reason why you're seeing what's going on in the street because the children have been brought up on lies. Okay? Let me walk you through that. The churches treat children, well, first of all, the media start treating children as an adult. When they made X-rated movies, children start watching everything their parents was watching. Okay, at one time you had to be a certain age, but now it's just wide open, it's just root.
Right.
The religious institution start treating children as grown-up. They talk to them. The sermon is dealt with on grown-up. The government have said you could, at the criminal justice system, you could charge a teenager, a child, with a grown-up crime. The business institution start hiring children to work, young age people. There used to be an age limit that you had to start at. You couldn't hire children. They start hiring them. The health institution start giving children drugs, birth control pills in schools at very early age. The home start as the children was watching the same movies that the parents, they start talking to their children like they was grown. Then the school, and then you go to the schools. The schools start giving out birth control pills, talking to children, teachers start laying with students, this, that, and another. So the children, and they blame it on a parent, which they have some accountability in the rearing the children too, but institutions have to enforce that, and they have not enforced it. We saw our children when we started getting on the buses, those of us that's over 50 or what have you, getting on the bus, cussing out people. We saw them doing that then. This was in the 60s. We saw in the late 60s, early 70s, we saw women raise their dresses up to show their drawers and stuff, and some of them didn't even have them on. So to go and not understand why we here is because we let it go on. We point fingers talking about institutional racism and all this kind of mess. Where's our responsibility? We start living in society instead of living, surviving in society instead of living on earth. And that's our problem. We continue to complain and nobody have a solution. The solution are very simple. They're not hard if you knew your past, but we don't even know our past. All we know is the tragic things of our past. There was a lot of good things that happened until government, corporations, other people, racists on both parties start advocating this kind of stuff. Black people have not taken responsibility for themselves. We don't contribute anything but spending money. As they say, we're ignorant consumers. And we're ignorant. That's the first part of it.
Okay.
And we have to deal with that.
Yes.
White folks is not killing black folks in the black community. Black folks are doing that.
You're
and
right.
The question is why? Well, you look at the household, fathers build houses or get houses. Mothers control houses. And if you want to point at someone, you got to point at the mother. Well, why did you, if the father left this boy, why was you with him in the first place? See? It's called a helpmate.
You gotta let folks respond to the comments.
Go ahead, please do.
Karen, tell us what you think about some of the stuff Yessie is saying. You're an educator. You're in the schools with the teacher, with the students. Why how valid are some of the comments Mr. Yessie is making?
Everything he says is true. Everything he says is true. He is simply saying this is our responsibility as a people. He's talking about an entire culture, and he's talking about how the culture has eroded systematically over time. And so it's really easy to talk about what other people should or should not be doing for us. It is our responsibility as the platform to at least say it. I think that what the gentleman and everything I've heard on this line has been, this is just the truth. And so this is the think tank that says, okay, let's talk about how we got here, because anything that's done can be undone. But we have to be honest enough with ourselves to say, hey, we're a part of it. We are part of the system, and the system is what has gone on systematically.
Right.
And he didn't give a comment. This man gave a commentary on our culture, on what cultural incompetency looks like, which is great.
Cultural incompetency.
Cultural incompetency.
Well said.
All right, Mr. Norwood.
Okay, well, like.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I apologize. In response to the lady that just spoke.
That's Karen.
Okay, social incompetence, or you could say social dysfunction. Because we have become very dysfunctional from top to bottom. We have, and again.
And why do you think that is?
And again, because of the lack of family structure. Okay.
Same thing Mr. Yessie saying.
The lack of family structure, and anytime you have a mother who has as many as 5 children and she's basically doing everything because the father is absent or non-contributing or does not contribute really,
then the burden is on her.
Right. That's just like and then also too, even some of the things that you see on the screen, some of the movies that come out. Me personally, I think Tyler Perry, a lot of his movies are inspirational.
I agree.
Terry McMillan, on the other hand, I have some issues with.
Okay.
And because but also too, a lot of the women, they blame it on, they blame it all on men. They say that men are not doing. But here's the thing: you set up and chose this proverbial bad boy over a good boy, more than likely. So, where's your? You have to give an account too for the choices you make.
We all have to give an account. And as Jess said, we all have to take responsibility for our role in what we see today.
And again, today's youth, in order to turn them around, you're going to have to get them, like I said before, when they're young. And it starts at home, don't get me wrong. But also, too, like they say, it takes a village to raise a child.
It does. So every person that child comes in contact with influences that child one way or another. And we need to get together on what we want to influence, how we want to influence them. Karen, I see your hand is up. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate those comments.
Well, it's cultural incompetency, and so many people now are, you know, they so many organizations are doing restorative justice in cultural incompetency. The thing is that we have to look at the fact that the entire culture, not just blaming ourselves, the blame and shame game is over because we can't, and we're not really going to be able to do it. It is not. It's really not our task anymore because, well, I'm a baby boomer. I was born in '54. You know, I'm a great grandmother, and even though you might a grandmother at 50, 54, you have great grandmothers who are that age now. You know, so we historically have given birth early. I mean, you know, American history and our place in it has always established that our economy has been each other. Our economy has been children and people. And so how do you control that type of powerful economy is through the eroding of our values and our ethics.
The
And so
eroding
somebody
of
else
our
didn't do it.
values.
Yeah, somebody else didn't erode them. It's very tempting, you know. I mean, being young, you know. I mean, think about Clint Eastwood. You know, everybody loves him. This guy is old. We remember him from Rawhide. You
Yes.
know, so he's not bad or good. People have done work and done work in not only writing but definitely in the movies. But what's happening to the culture right now is we're moving from the oral culture tradition back to the literal cultural tradition. So the reading and the writing, they're missing it simply because oral is so dominant right now.
Yeah.
It's, you know, whoever got the mic got the power. I mean,
Got
that's
the power.
no differently than what went down in Germany. And the first thing they did is they went after the youth and went after the old people. So bringing
Karen,
the old,
I'm sorry,
young
Karen, if I may
people.
ask, what is your take on Clint Eastwood in comparison to Terry McMillan?
Terry McMillan is she's a womanist writer. She was writing from the perspective of a woman, period. Whether it was good or bad, the perspective of a woman who was very and we're also talking about the middle class. We're not even talking, you know, when you talk about Terry McMillan's work, it depends on what book you're talking about. When Stella got her groove back, that's one. But then what is it? Disappearing Acts, where there was this division between the man and the woman and her ability to make money, and he couldn't. Well, we know that that's the culture. That you know that
okay,
goes back to
okay, well, and okay. With
Now
that narrative,
you guys are having a conversation, and yes, he's got his hand up, and so does Sandra. So
okay, well,
take Sandra first. Let me hear Sandra.
Okay. Go on.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay. First, wait a minute. Stop. Now, Clint Eastwood. Seriously, Clint Eastwood is 93 years old. Yeah. Terry McMillan is 71 years old. You're talking about youth. If you want to talk about what youth do, first of all, Clint Eastwood at 93 is somebody's great grandfather. At least he's got 8 kids, at least by a variety of women. So this is nobody that you hold in high self-esteem.
no.
Secondly,
No,
McMillan, she had every right to write about what was going on in her life and what she saw. And again, she's 71 years old. You're talking about saving 16 or really 14 to 20-year-olds. Do the math. Okay, and the world is very, 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 very different for those 14 to 20-year-olds than what it was for that 71-year-old